Hello, friends. Welcome back to Jewish Action, the podcast, or as I like to call it, Jewish Interaction. Jewish Action is a magazine of the Orthodox Union. You can find it at jewishaction.com, where you can subscribe. My name is Rabbi Gil Student, and I'm the Director of Jewish Media, Publications, and Editorial Communications at the OU. Today, I'm joined by Rebbetzin Dr. Adina Shmidman. Rebbetzin Shmidman is the Director of the OU Women's Initiative and is a Rebbetzin at the Lower Merion Synagogue in Bala Cynwyd, Pennsylvania. This conversation ended up being so wide-ranging and long that we're going to split it into two podcasts. So in part one, today we're talking about the fall 2025 issue of Jewish Action, and particularly the article titled Between Nusach and Niggun, the Chazzan's Evolving Role by Yosef Lindell. He wrote a fascinating and extremely relevant historical survey of the changes in cantorial music and styles. But first, we discuss our apology video for the graphics accompanying this article. You might have seen the video, which went kind of viral. The sheet music accompanying the Chazzan article is accidentally for the song We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Someone named Jake Pilevsky released a video pointing this out, and I issued a humorous apology video. We'll give you some of the behind-the-scenes information and backstory of that video. And of course, we also discuss chazanus and shul singing today. So please subscribe to our podcast and follow Jewish Action Magazine on social media, and join us for part one of my conversation with Rebbetzin Dr. Adina Shmidman. Rebbetzin Dr. Shmidman. Right, we use the titles the first time, and after that we go to first names, like you do in any normal corporate situation. When you're talking to CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, if you use a formal title, it's considered offensive. So, but for the first time, we use our titles to be formal, and then we'll. So, Rebbetzin Dr. Shmidman, you're the director of the Women's Initiative at the OU, correct?
Correct.
So, when did you join the OU?
I joined the OU in the inception of the Women's Initiative Department. It's actually going to be my 8th anniversary on November 1st. So November 1st, 2017.
Wow. Okay. And you've been, I mean, right now, the Women's Initiative is like a force of nature. It's doing incredible work in the community. And I guess you built that from scratch. You're the inception. You're the founding director.
Yes. Baruch Hashem.
Great. You've changed many lives and done incredible work in the communities. So we're here to talk about Jewish Action, the fall issue of fall 2025. And we already agreed, so I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about the cantorial article.
Okay. Sounds exciting, but what I think we should be talking about before we actually get into the cantorial article itself is that article landed and made headlines in the community. So can you share a little bit more about what went on before Rosh Hashanah 2025 5786?
Sure. Let me.
Or maybe I can jump in and say and share. So if you take a look at the headline, the banner. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. If you take a look at the banner on this page, so I actually walked this to my piano and played the notes on this page. And maybe tell us a little bit more about what happened.
So, see, I'm not as musical as you are. So I didn't even know. To me, those are just symbols, right? Once upon a time, I knew how to read sheet music when I was a little kid. But to me, I just went right past that, straight to the words, the ideas, but a lot of musical people, they actually looked at it, and it's meaningful to them, I guess to you as well. And they played the notes, and they realized this is not music, and a cantorial music, not at all. It is a Christian song, or at least a Christian adjacent song. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Well, what about a Happy New Year? No?
That as well, and that was surprise to me. I guess when you walked to the piano, that was a surprise to you as well. So I learned about it from this fellow who made a video about it, Jake Pilevsky. And I'm now in touch with him, and he has a small following. He's very interested in music, but that video went viral, and it got to my attention about 1,000,000 times.
Pilevsky here. Shana Tova. I have a funny story from Yontif to share with you. Came home from shul, and I grabbed the closest reasonable reading material, which turned out to be Jewish Action Magazine, the magazine of the Orthodox Union. Cool. I flip open to an article that seemed interesting. Between Nusach and Niggun, the Chazzan's Evolving Role. Cool. On the top of the second page, there was a little bit of sheet music. I said, I wonder if I could figure out what song is written up there. So let's see. I try to humming it to myself. It is Yontif after all. So we got a C and an F and some eighth notes. Let's see, what is this? That's what they put there. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And a Happy New Year.
That we accidentally included the sheet music for We Wish You a Merry Christmas in Jewish Action. Ironically, not only ironically that it's Jewish Action, ironically it's about chazanus for the Yomim Noraim, for the high holidays. It's embarrassing. It was a little bit embarrassing.
Although, I bet that you wouldn't have predicted that a chazanus article would have gone viral.
So Baruch Hashem, that means more people, I believe, more people are reading the article, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But we, as I think most of our listeners know, we made a response video. Have you seen this video? Hi friends, my name is Rabbi Gil Student, and I'm the Director of Jewish Media and Publications at the Orthodox Union. It was brought to our attention on social media that the sheet music accompanying our cantorial article in the fall 2025 issue of Jewish Action is for the song, I kid you not, We Wish You a Merry Christmas. So let me tell you the difference between Nechama Carmel, the magazine's editor, and me. I find this innocent mistake absolutely hilarious. I literally laughed out loud. Nechama finds it horrifying. She takes the magazine and really everything very seriously. Any mistake that creeps in absolutely horrifies her, and she gets very annoyed when I laugh about things like this. So, we're all to blame for this mistake. Nechama and I are to blame for not catching it. My mother is to blame for letting me drop piano lessons when I was 10, so now I can't read sheet music. It's also the fault of our Beis Yaakov graduate graphic designer for pulling sheet music off of clip art rather than taking it from a pirate Jewish music site like a normal person. And it's the fault of you, the Jewish reader, for even knowing Christmas music. What's that about? Nechama is devastated, and she wants to resign. And I was ready to have ChatGPT produce a magazine so we will know for sure it contains no mistakes. But I think you, the reading public, will understand. For Nechama's sake, please accept our apologies and our commitment that nothing like this will happen again. Please send all your complaints to me and not to her, because I find them endlessly entertaining. So thank you for your understanding. I wish everyone a Gemar Chasima Tova and a Happy New Year. And I'd like to talk a little bit about how that happened and the process.
Good. I'm curious because it's not simple to be caught like a deer in the headlights making a mistake. And I'm especially this time of year where we're highlighting mistakes and how you deal with mistakes. I'm really curious.
Yeah, so it's embarrassing, it's frustrating, because we spend a lot of time on this magazine, and when I say we, there's a team around it. But Nechama Carmel, the longtime editor of Jewish Action, first of all, she doesn't like being the focus of attention, so I'll keep the mention of her brief. But she's an amazing editor, as you know.
Agreed, 100%.
And this is a first-in-class magazine because we have a first-in-class editor. This is a quarterly magazine for a year, and every single year we get more than 4 awards because we have so much great content in here, in this magazine, because we have such a great editor who's very conscientious, very fastidious, very thoughtful, very creative. And we have a team of people who not only put the magazine together, but also who review it. And I should mention Sarah Wiener, our assistant editor, who's fantastic, and we have Racheli Eisenberger, who also works on it. And I work on it to some degree as well. And we have other freelancers that we work with.
And the board.
Okay, the board's more in the creative side, but we also board reviews some of the articles. But when we're talking about putting out a final product, we want it not only to be excellent in terms of content, we want the presentation to be excellent, to be aesthetically pleasing. There's a lot of good graphical work goes into this, and there's a lot of proofreading that goes into it. And when a mistake sneaks through that process, it's frustrating. We worked hard on it.
Sure. Would you have ever anticipated this? Obviously not, or else you would have walked into a piano or
See, typos happen no matter how good a process you have. Even if you're, say, Harvard University Press, there will be typos in the book no matter how many people look at that book. So it is embarrassing when there's a typo. Not so embarrassing. If there are many typos, that's sloppy. That's sloppy. One typo that sneaks through, fine. But this is something we weren't anticipating. We never would have thought of. I'm not a musical person. We're not musical people here, so we didn't even think to the graphic designer put it in, and we thought, okay, whatever. Either it's chazanus related or it's just random notes. I didn't think it might possibly be an actual song. And if now, of course, anything musical ever comes into the magazine again, we're all going to be testing it. And interestingly enough, quite a few people reached out to me and said, "Are you sure it's We Wish You a Merry Christmas?" Because they put it in ChatGPT and ChatGPT said it's not. They tested it with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, as you know, AI sometimes makes mistakes. And that's not how I tested it. What I did is I Googled the sheet music of "We Wish You Merry Christmas" and I lined it up, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Someone musical like yourself or like Jake Palevsky could just play it on a musical instrument and see it immediately. So so
Okay, so what happened?
Nechama can take a joke. I can take a joke. I can give a joke. We laugh a lot here. Putting together the magazine is a creative effort. That's a lot of it's hard work, but we enjoy it. We have fun doing it. I don't I did but part of our video, was to be a joke. Nechama was in on the joke the whole time. She's not thinking about resigning. She's not horrified.
I hope not.
That was the joke. 'Cause I'll explain. I think a lot of people did, but a lot of people took me at my word and didn't they understood that I was joking, but they didn't understand the extent of the joke, and that's my fault. We put together the video hastily, and we could have edited better and thought it through better. Okay, it is what it is. So before we released the video, I reached out to everyone involved or mentioned, including Jake Palevsky, including our graphic designer, certainly Nechama, who was part of the whole process. I wanted to make sure nobody was offended. Everybody was, got given full notice, except for my mother. I don't know why. I didn't think to reach out to my mother, but thankfully, she loved the joke. She thought it was hilarious. But you know, as she actually mentioned, it brought back the memories from prehistoric times when I was in elementary school and I was a class clown or was getting in trouble. She's like, "Oh, that's the old Gil I remember." But so we worked very hard. We produce a magazine that's inspiring, is relevant, is thought provoking. So when that an error comes through, it's frustrating because we are so thorough and so conscientious. Um, but so I do want to mention here on the video that if anyone does catch an error, the best way to do it is reach out to us through the contact form we have on jewishaction.com. Let us know. We'll issue a correction. We'll fix it on the website. Whatever needs to be done, we'll take care of it. Making a video is not the best way to handle it. I understand Jake was having fun. I don't hold anything against him. Uh, but in general, look, there are other magazines, other newspapers, they make mistakes also. You reach out to the editor. If it's something that can be fixed, you reach out to the editor and ask them to fix it online or whatever. You don't want to embarrass people because it's embarrassing. It's
Right.
embarrassing.
On the other hand, that brings us back to this chazanus article because I think in some ways it drew attention to Jewish action and the scope and the reach of the articles and the varied content that one can find in the magazine. So, I wonder if it was good advertising. Maybe not in the best way, but
Well, that's kind of what I thought. When we saw the video, we realized a mistake. So what do you do next? So we could have done nothing. And I thought, wait, this is an opportunity. An opportunity to engage with readers, to get they're paying attention now. But what do? How do you don't go and give them a cheer on chazanus or on how to correct somebody. That's not what you do because that's not engaging. So figured, okay, let's make a funny video. So we collaborated, we talked, actually created 3 different videos. My favorite, um, and that we actually prepared to be uploaded to social media, but we didn't. because we tested it internally to see, do people find it funny? Part of humor is you need tension and you need surprise. So in the video, so the first video, the one I liked, the tension was with myself, meaning I was acting paranoid and blaming everybody and throwing everybody under the bus. And but we sent it around. People didn't get it, and I was kind of disappointed. In fact, about 50%, if not more, of the video was just direct quotes from the Office TV show, The Office, in which the lead character acted paranoid and threw everybody on the bus. But it didn't land. So so I tried another video, which it was tension between me and the editor, and I was taking it lighthearted, and the editor was taking it very serious, and that we circulated, and people really liked that. So we beefed it up with a few more jokes, put in a few more surprises because you need the tension and a surprise. It'll that landed, Baruch Hashem, very well, and
I
I
think
think
also
also
the
the
medium of Instagram also lends itself to that tone.
many people like humor,
Yeah, and it's a little bit more lighthearted.
and I do believe it succeeded in doing 2 things. First of all, it brought up the idea of forgiveness and apologies in that time before Yom Kippur, where it's really appropriate. It also brought attention to the article. I do believe many more people actually read the article about chazanus in the time of the Yom Noraim when we're all being, listening to chazanim. I think it was very good timing, and it was a good message at the right time in a lighthearted way. It did, to some degree, make me seem more light than I actually am. I am heavily right. That's I'm not that way about mistakes in the magazine. I do take them very seriously, and I also think it made the editor seem a little more harsh than she is, because she's actually pretty lighthearted and knows how to laugh at a joke. She was literally in on the joke the whole time. So I do think most people understood and got it that it was a joke. Some people took it a little too seriously.
Just to clarify, it wasn't a joke that it got in there. It was a joke into just we want to make sure that that's clear, but that it was treated in a more lighthearted way.
Correct.
And I think that I hear that. I hear that. Sometimes if you to be serious about something only ramps up the the agitation or the frustration. And I think we all make mistakes, and there's something human about that.
It definitely broke the tension, and people were able to laugh. That look, everybody reasonable understands mistakes happen, and this particular mistake happened once and is not going to happen again. But it was an unanticipated error.
My
So
grandmother always used to say, What do we learn from this?" And so if you learn something from a mistake and you don't, I always say, I make one mistake, I don't make it twice. So, or I hope I won't make it twice. And I think that that's the case here.
that's where review checklists come from. You learn some things from other people, and but really, you learn things the hard way, and you put it on your checklist, and then it doesn't happen again.
Right. Right.
So Baruch Hashem, it all went well. We got a lot of good response, a little exaggerated, a little, comedic relief, but it went very well.
We need some we need some comedy. It's things have been very intense, and a little, you know, something to smile at is also, and something to talk about at the Shabbos table that's not politics. I think that works well.
I think it's also that it came from a rabbi who was very serious. My resting face is serious. So I think the fact that I just said something outrageous and exaggerated, I think that helped as well. Can I tell you a story? It's not a secret. I used to work in the corporate world for almost 30 years. So I was working at AIG, which is a Fortune 500 company, and I had been moved to the actuarial floor. After a few months, when I'm getting water, literally at the water cooler, the secretary of the highest ranking actuary was there also. And she said, when you first moved to the floor, I was very worried because you're so serious. I'm like, where is this going? Like, is she being anti Semitic or something? And then she said, but then all I hear all day is you laughing, the people around you laughing. It makes it such a pleasure. I'm so glad you're here, which tells me two things. Number one is I come across as too serious. I need to figure out a way to not to do that, unless she's just an anti-Semite. I don't know, but I do come across as serious. But the bar is low. All I have to do is be a little lighthearted, and it breaks the tension.
I think that's true in general. I think laughing is so healthy and it suggests a trust between people and it allows for a bonding between people in a very healthy way. I think it's so wonderful when people laugh. So here you go.
So it's good to joke as long as you take life seriously.
Correct.
It makes things much easier.
Okay, so talking about serious, should we talk about chazanus?
Let's talk about that a little bit. Sure.
Okay, so the gist of the article was that there's been a transition. Music has always been part of our experience, our prayer experience, from the time of the Beis Hamikdash, from the time of the temple till today. But there has been an evolvement of the role of the prayer leader, moving from a more formal chazanus space or persona to something that we're seeing now, which is more informal. And the question I think that the article navigates is this is this good? Is this is this where we want to be? Is this a positive development? And I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So there are two sides to that. And one side is that everything in our world has evolved over the past probably 100 years to become less formal. Everything, business casual. When I started working, you had to wear a suit and tie every day. And then pretty soon in the mid 90s, that all changed. And no more ties, no more jackets. And now it's pretty standard in the corporate world, business casual. We call people by their first names. Everything's more casual. And it does make sense that the role of the Chazzan should become less formal as well. Now, on the other hand, maybe we wanna fight that. Maybe we don't want our religion to become more informal. Uh,
I guess what does informal bring along with it in the tefillah space?
well, the other question is, what was the formal role of the Chazan? How did that play out in the tefillah space? I remember one time, my grandmother, who was not religious at all, and at this point, I was already very religious, sending my daughter to Beis Yaakov, my kids to Black Hat yeshivas. And she was telling me that she was very upset by someone who complained about the chazan in the temple she went to. It's in her 90s, probably. The assisted living home where she was in. Someone complained that the chazan was going on for too long. And she said to me, if you want to daven, daven at home. We go to shul for the concert. And I was taken aback by that. But to some degree, there's truth in that. And the Chazan, especially on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, is performing, and we're there experiencing the performance. And hopefully, the Chazan understands the words and emphasizes and uses them properly to move us so that when we listen to him, the words of the tefillah go through us and really just affect us. A good chazan does that. I've heard good chazanim, and with all the big notes and stuff like that, which I'm not a musical person, I don't really appreciate as much as I could. I recognize that they thunder at the right words, and it really just it affects me. And I on the other hand, I'm the observer, and when you're an observer, especially in this day and age, we're all easily distracted, and we're all twitching in our seats. So being a passive observer doesn't really work so well for a lot of people.
I think that's a very important point that you're making. The observer to the participant, and sort of where do we fall on that continuum, and where do we need to fall in order to be inspired?
I am Gen X, grew up with Sesame Street, and I don't have the attention span to listen to a Chanan for very long. My solution is I have a Gemara in front of me the entire Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and I listen to the Chazan while I'm learning. And that's not a good solution for most people. I recommend to everybody bring an appropriately themed book to shul. So if you feel like you can't pay any more attention, open up the book to read a little mussar, read a little inspiration, whatever it is.
Or maybe just look over to the English side. and quiz yourself to see
That's great.
your translation skills.
One thing I have lost is I don't read the commentary on the bottom anymore. Like I used to have the Rav Soloveitchik Machzor, it was fantastic. Now the Rabbi Sachs Machzor. I'm not really looking at that anymore because I'm challenging myself how much Gemara I can learn. And maybe that's, I should rethink that. Maybe that's something to rethink. Uh, but to the participatory singing really gets people involved with the words of tefillah if the singing is appropriate, the song is appropriate choice. Sometimes it's just what will get people riled up, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the tefillah, and it's you're having fun, but are you davening?
Or it's also a distraction. It's a distraction. And sometimes, with Kedusha, I'm trying to figure out what tune is that when you're supposed to be thinking about the words, not the tune. And if the tune is a tune, I'm not even talking about a secular tune, a Jewish tune, but the tune is not
Right? Is it Simcha Liner? Is it Shweki?
right,
Right?
and correct, and if it's the messaging of those words are not parallel or integrated to the words of Kedusha, then you're sort of creating two trains of thought. I don't think it's helpful.
So you're touching on an extreme position that I hold. I have a few extreme positions.
All right, right.
One of my
Love to hear
extreme
that.
positions is I don't think for any tefillah we should use a song whose words then come to mind, whether it's Kodesh or Chol or anything like that. If you're trying to sing Kedusha and I'm thinking of a pasuk in Yirmiyahu, right? So then I'm being distracted from what I'm supposed to be thinking about. That's where nigunim, pure nigunim, come in because there are no words for me to think about. I just think about the Niggun and the tefillah. And this is a problem, certainly a problem for secular songs, and even
Let's take those off. Look, even that really bothers me. By the way, like that, it's to me how in the world can you be pulling in secular music into this space of kedusha? I don't mean literally kedusha, that section of davening, but anything in a davening space.
so I'll go even further. Secular Israeli songs, Erev Shishol Shanim.
Hey, that's a big kedusha song.
I know it drives me crazy because I have this Israeli upbringing in America, and I know all these Israeli songs. So when I hear that, I think of secular Israeli songs. And I'm like, I don't want to think about that during kedusha. Just give me something else. But that's my extreme position. I know most poskim will not, or I don't think any posek would agree with me on that.
I do think that there is, just to sort of follow that line of thought, there is an idea of elevating music and elevating song. So the idea of taking a secular song and elevating it in this space, there is definitely room for that.
But if we're thinking about, or even, and he's saying Kaddish, and we're singing along, the home of the free and the land. Sorry, I do know the words of the Star Spangled Banner if I start in order.
Yes.
Um,
Land of the free, home of the brave.
Thank you. But if we're singing those actual words, or literally singing, or thinking them during the Kaddish, that's probably not the best use of our song. On the other hand, a beautiful niggun that really fits the spirit and the theme can really move people. So and it allows them to participate.
Have you had a davening experience that comes to mind in terms of being moved into tefillah?
So you're putting me on the spot, and I am a real Litvak just in my blood. Not my genealogy.
Okay, so I come by this honestly, so I get the Litvak part. So
I come from Gerach Hasidim from before the war, but that's long gone. I like a davening with no music at all.
oh,
Do it slow. Let us say the words very slowly and properly. Let the Chazzan say his part. We say our part.
but with Nusach, meaning no tunes.
Correct. Correct. Like Mincha and Shabbos has a tune, has a proper nusach. Uh, I like it that way. That allows me to focus on the words and also go slowly where we're supposed to go slow. It's a very yeshivish style davening. So Rabbi used to be in Pittsburgh. I think he's in Canada now, maybe Vancouver. Rabbi Israel Miller. He published a book I reviewed in Jewish Action many years ago. I think questions I wish to ask my Rebbe, something like that, in which he talks about the beauty of a yeshivish davening with no singing. and that really spoke to me, and that's what I really like. A nice yeshiva davening. But the reality is, I live among balabatim, and I daven with balabatim, and you have a good song. I'm going to sing along with it.
So you're plugging into history, not just the musical notes, but when you hear and just going back to even to Shabbos Mincha, like this is the way you daven Shabbos Mincha, and someone who's in the know is going to be plugged in, but they're not just representing them themselves. They're coming along with you know ancestors, maybe not their own, but you have to me, like, the room is filled with more people or more I don't know, the tune fills the space. Again, the Nusach tune.
2 years ago, I was at a wedding, and I saw the Chazzan from my youth, conservative synagogue, but he's a good Chazzan. And I told him, every time I hear a good "Yismechu b'malchuscha" part of the Chazaras HaShatz, I think of him because he knew how to do it, and when I hear someone do it well, I'm like, "That's where I learned it from." I can't do it, I'm tone deaf, I'm completely incapable of that, but I do appreciate a good Nusach. It brings me back to the chazanus of my youth and how it's supposed to be done. I like that. Not everybody can do that, and it's out of style, it's going out of style. You gotta roll. I can't turn into that old, grumpy old man saying, "When I was a kid, we used to do it this way." It doesn't fly.
So to that point, can you share if we are moving in that direction, away from chazanus, more toward about tefillah, what's the positive so that we really feel like this is not second class or a b'diavad? There's something in this that we should feel like we own and we want to own in this tefillah space.
So what we need, and really, I believe Chazan Sherwood Goffin kind of championed this, was we need to teach people how to do it right. You're gonna sing a niggun, fine. Here's how you do it well. These are the kind of nigunim you should do. They should fit the words. They should pronounce the words properly. It drives me crazy. Recently, the Women's Initiative had a shear uh, for women on how to pronounce the words of the tefillah properly.
La kitikuna.
And I remember when your staff was telling me about that, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, nobody's gonna lie. That's for me. It's not for hundreds of women," but it was for hundreds of women.
People really did want to know about how to daven properly.
I we have a beautiful language with grammatical rules, and, we should daven in lashon hakodesh, and lashon hakodesh is pronounced lashon hakodesh properly with grammar, putting the emphasis on the right syllable. It's definitely possible. I believe in that year she said Rabbi Reisman told her not to focus on it too much because it's not really possible, and I, with all due respect to Rabbi Reisman, I disagree. It is possible, and it can be done.
Right. I think what she was saying is that one may find it so daunting to completely upend their davening that they may get caught in the minutia. Take it slow. Take it slow and don't feel like you have to completely now transform your davening in its entirety. Little by little. Little by little.
That's wise. That's all big changes happen one step at a time.
Exactly.
Um, so to your point, I do believe we should be teaching people how to daven, how to be Bali Tefillah correctly. But I also believe we should have options for people. If you're a musical person, uh, true story. I used to arrange a Karlebach Kabbalah Shabbos once a month in my neighborhood,
Really?
and at some point I realized
You were a Miss Nugget.
it's just that was a thing to do, and I thought, well, if that's everybody's all the communal leaders are saying
Uh-huh.
this is how you do it right. Let me do it right. And at some point, I realized this is fun, but I'm getting nothing out of this at all. So I'd stay away from that now as much as possible. But some people really get inspired by it. So good, let's have musical Kabbalah Shabbos for them, and for the rest of us, let's have the Kabbalah Shabbos with zero singing. Or if you're real brisk, I don't know if I should say it publicly. Briskers don't say Kabbalah Shabbos. They skip it. They learn, and then they go straight into Ma'ariv. That's the way real bris gets
How
set.
could you not welcome the Shabbos Malka?
It's Api Kabbalah, it's Bittul Torah. It's Bittul Torah we should be learning instead. Yeah, okay, fine. I would like to be in a community that does that. Let me learn a block tomorrow, and then I'll go straight into Ma'ariv. Okay, but that's not for everybody. I like the idea of having options, having more musical. We should have a chazanus, or variety. You know, if we have a chazan in my shul once a month who does a really nice classical Kabbalah Shabbos, nobody's gonna complain. Y Give a little bit to everybody, and you don't know what you like, and people change over time. You might grow. You'll say, "Oh,
Correct.
wow, oh
I
my
think
god."
that's smart. I think it creates a menu, an opportunity, and almost I wanna just clarify, it doesn't mean that there needs to be now 5 minyanim within the shul, but week to week, there could be opportunities or a special Shabbos with a special singer, and it allows for different people to experience their spiritual growth or their spiritual connection in a way that really talks to them.
Yeah, but you should always give at least 2 options. If you're gonna have a really schleppy Kabbalah Shabbos, you should have a quick one for people who
The schleppiness, I don't know why that bothers people. You're buckle up. It's okay. Where are you going?
So, with all due respect, I've worked really long hours in my career. I know what it is to come to Friday night, a schmata, barely able to function. I wanna be able to go home, say Kiddush, have a meal, before I collapse. And the schleppy Kabbalah Shabbos is so painful to someone like that. And I do see people falling asleep. People work hard, and we need to recognize that.
Should we have that same sensitivity and consideration Shabbos morning? Again, about schleppiness?
Oh, you're talking to the right person when you're talking about that. I
Where are you going? Are you a Shabbat person?
I personally wake up very early, and I learn. I'm part of a community, so I feel like I need to be part of the main minyan. So I do go to the 9 o'clock minyan. I mean, oh, not I go begrudgingly. I'm usually up around 6 o'clock. So, but I cannot take a davening that's more than 2 hours.
Keep the show moving.
I don't understand what's going on. And when I go to and I daven in yeshivish place. If I go to my parents in Teaneck, and davening is like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, I'm like, "What is going on? How could people sit still for so long?" I mean, I have to get up and just walk around. I so I'm not a but some people love it. My parents love a long davening. They got no place to run to.
Right.
So let the rabbi speak. Let the second person, let the president speak for 15 minutes for announcements. 15 minutes for announcements. When I was president, announcements were 30 seconds.
Cut to the chase.
Uh, I give everything really quickly, and if you didn't hear the announcements, it was all in writing. You didn't even need me to announce it. But okay, fine. So that's my personal mishigas, different strokes for different folks, fine. But I do believe, especially as the next generation, the smartphone generation is
Oh,
older.
the patience is quite limited.
Yeah. Nope. The long davening has a history from the times when, let's say, the 9 o'clock chakras. That was to make a point of we don't work on Shabbos. From back in the day when being Shomer Shabbos was a big deal. We don't work on and keep them in shul as long as possible because when they go home, they're going to be they're going to drive home.
That was, I think, the origin or one of the origins of Hashkama Minyan was
So that people could go to work.
people could go, yeah, yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
To
Everything's changed.
correct.
Now it's for people who want to daven the Sikh or who want to have kiddush before 9 o'clock. It's completely changed. So I'm a believer in giving people what they want and what they need. And in communities where you have multiple shuls and or a big shul with multiple minyanim, some people like a long davening, some people like a short davening, some people like the singing, some people don't.
I feel like this is a children's book in the making. Some people like a tall chazan, some people like a short chazan.
And the dugma of this really was, I think it was Boca Raton Synagogue that really kind of created the model of multiple minyanim so that everybody comes, and it's been copied in many places. Or maybe Rabbi Riskin did it, and then Boca Raton. I don't know, but it's been around for a while. Lots of shuls becoming more popular. I'm part of more of a yeshiva shul that has only one minyan because there's another shul 2 doors down and another shul across the street. But so you get to choose where to go. Yeah, everybody should daven the way they want, that moves them the most and creates the best experience for them. It's really about the individual connecting with the words of the tefillin with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's the tefillah. Davening is about God. I don't know if we say that often enough. Davening is about God, and we should find the way we connect best. And in this day and age, people connect differently, so we should be offering them opportunities to connect differently. I don't think I'm saying anything controversial whatsoever. It's probably the most powerful statement I've made
No,
all
I think this
all
is
time.
great. In fact, I'm intrigued that we could be talking about an article about chazanus for so long, like, and with so much, it's a rich conversation.
I think a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions on this, and it's very nice that we published this important article about the change because it gives everyone something to argue about what they don't like, how it used to be, how it is, what happened, and the historical changes. It's also very well researched. I should mention the author's name, Yosef Lindell, is a fantastic researcher and writer. It's a very good, very great article. Thank you for joining us for part 1 of the conversation with Rebbetzin Dr. Adina Shmidman. I hope you enjoyed it and will join us for part 2. Subscribe to Jewish Action the podcast to make sure you are notified when the next podcast is released, and follow us on social media so you can keep up with all the latest.